Chapter 4. William. 5 years later. The moment the alarm on William's phone woke him from sleep, he lay there and let it ring until it stopped on its own, just like he did every morning. The sound of Lucien's newest single was too good to stop. It had been the perfect start to his days. He started this one as he usually did, rising from his bed, changing into a hoodie one size too large, a clean pair of boxers following that, and then the sound of his computer humming to life as he pressed the power button. William would sit in his desk chair and watch as his monitors blinked on, his free hand fiddling with whatever item was on his desk that day. At the moment, it was a piece of tape that had been used to secure a microphone to Lucien's face during a rehearsal. His fingers ran over the tape again and again, a ritual he had done many times before. He brought it to his nose, hoping to catch any trace of Lucien's scent, but it was long gone by now, and he sadly lowered his hand back down to the desk. He clicked through the screens, trying to find where Lucien was. Normally around that time, he would be in the break room, gingerly sipping from a water bottle and scrolling on his phone. William smiled as he opened the break room camera and found that he was correct, which wasn't a surprise. He had long since memorized Lucien's current routine. His long hair was pulled together, sitting low behind his neck, the shorter strands falling to frame his face. He was in a loose white t-shirt and black sweatpants, his usual dancing attire. William loved how Lucien looked in anything. There was a simple magic in seeing the idol in plain clothing, something intimate about it that thrilled him every time. Most people only saw Lucien in his costume pieces, always gorgeous and shining, and only a handful of people got the privilege to see him the way he was then. William never took it for granted. As Lucien sat silently on his phone, William rose from his chair and crossed the room to his bed, retrieving his prized possession and bringing it back with him to his seat. Over the years, William's life had gotten better and better. He now had an entire collection of items Lucien had touched or worn, and the box under his bed was beginning to overflow. He had rankings in his mind of the things he loved most. The towels used to dry sweat from Lucien's neck that were forgotten in the dance studio reserved just for him were among William's favorites. Their scent was so strong for the first few days that he would hold them to his face non-stop until it faded. Even then, he would use the towels in other ways, the friction of the fabric under his hand always eliciting an especially pleasurable feeling. Used water bottles were another top contender, because he could close his eyes and press his lips to the same spot Lucien's had once been, his tongue sliding into the opening as he used his imagination to fill in the blanks. Most other items weren't as fun for him, like sticky notes Lucien had discarded, wrappers from hastily eaten snacks between scheduled activities, or paper napkins after meals. William sat and continued to watch Lucien for as long as he was on break, his very favorite memento clutched in his hands. It had been the greatest gift he'd gotten yet, and even after months of sleeping with it every night, he never tired of it, even after Lucien's scent had vanished. He lifted it to his face and pressed it to his cheek. A stained silk shirt that a makeup artist had gotten dirty during a photo shoot, the pristine white fabric marred with smudged black eyeliner on top of one of the shoulders. Of course, Lucien had been nothing but gracious about the mishap, simply changing into something else and leaving the shirt draped over a bench in the dressing room. William had kept a camera on it all day, waiting for the end of work hours, praying it would stay there unnoticed. To his great joy, no one had gone into the room and disposed of it, so he had slipped into the space and taken it. That night, he had not slept at all. The smell of Lucien's cologne so strong and sweet that he had held it to his face and inhaled for hours, while his bedsheets became a sticky mess. William kept his eyes on the screen as he rose again, sticking the face tape from before onto his wall along with all the other items he could place there. It made for the most beautiful collage, the wrappers and sticky notes and tape all above his bed, an art piece that he loved more and more as it grew. When the newest edition was in its place, William saw Lucien move on the screen, and he rushed back to his chair. He watched as the man looked up from his phone, and a voice called into the room that William unfortunately knew very well at that point. "Hey," said Stelle, walking into view of the camera as he sat in a chair across from Lucien. Lucien smiled, giving the other idol a small wave in greeting. William marveled at how pale and lithe his hands were. "Dance practice today?" Lucien nodded, sighing as he leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms over his chest. "Ursula made the choreo for the single hard on purpose this time, and said it's good to challenge myself. But man, my poor muscles don't really agree." Stelle laughed, light and friendly, and William just gritted his teeth at the sound. "I'm lucky she's not my choreographer. He'd have to wipe me up off the floor after doing anything she comes up with." Lucien cocked his head to the side in a chastising way. "She's great at what she does. I'm very lucky to have her." "Oh, Lucien Angel would never have anything but the best," Stelle replied. "As he should." At least William could agree on that. But watching the way Royce Estelle leaned forward, his hands on the table, voice a little too friendly, made William seethe. 5 years later, and Stelle still hadn't given up on Lucien, despite the soloist keeping their dynamic platonic. William knew Lucien would never settle for Stelle. He was too good for anyone, especially the most annoying man in the company. William consoled himself with that knowledge, but seeing them together was never going to make him happy, so he kept his gaze on Lucien and ignored Stelle as much as he could. "Thank you," Lucien said, his tone casual and sincere. Stelle just beamed over at him and said, "Any time, Angel." William had to do everything in his power not to arrange an accident of some kind for him right then and there. But no, he had to keep himself in check, because Lucien would never get together with Stelle. It had already been years of unrequited feelings. Stelle had to give up sooner or later. Just as his thoughts were calming, William heard Lucien's phone ring and watched as he held it up to check the screen. He tilted his head in apology to Stelle, showing his screen and pointing to the name displayed. "It's Melanie. Do you mind?" Stelle stood, waving his hand as he walked to the door. "No problem. I've got a meeting soon. Just wanted to stop by. I'll see you later." When he left the room, William felt an immediate calm wash over him. Now that the pest was gone, he could focus again on Lucien. The singer answered the phone, holding it to his ear as he leaned his elbows on the table, chin resting on his free hand. The pose was so adorable that it made William's face blush at the sight, and he leaned forward to get closer to the screen, just so he could savor it. Lucien's voice was bright as he spoke, as it always was when speaking to Melanie. Melanie Andrews was Lucien's manager, as well as one of his closest friends. This wasn't saying all that much, as Lucien only seemed to have 2 friends, Melanie and Stelle, both of whom he only saw in professional settings. Still, Lucien always spoke well of Melanie, and being his manager, she drove him places and arranged his schedule. It was also a plus that she was married, so she had no interest in Lucien. Though, if William had been married before seeing Lucien, his hypothetical spouse would have been gone in an instant. But Stelle was single, which meant he was free to ruin William's happiness. "What's up, Melanie?" Lucien asked. William couldn't hear her on the other line, so he focused solely on Lucien's voice, which was something he always loved to do anyway. "Okay, practice should end around 8 tonight. Feel free to do whatever until then." William mentally took note of this, as he now knew the exact time Lucien would leave the building, and in turn, when William could slip out himself. Knowing Lucien's schedule came with many perks that William relished every day, one being that he could follow Lucien home and watch him enter his apartment building every night. He also knew the usual cafe he stopped at in the mornings and afternoons when he needed extra energy, and of course he knew his usual orders as well. William knew the places he liked for lunch, where he went for business dinners, and where he ordered in when he had precious days off. Any time he could, William would emerge from the basement. He donned a hoodie and jeans, hood pulled up and hands in his pockets, and he would follow a safe distance behind Lucien. If he was lucky, sometimes he would see Lucien's side profile. It would send a thrill down his spine. If he got even luckier, he could see where Lucien tossed his empty coffee cups, and William could take them for himself. It was his life's joy, knowing all these things about Lucien and being able to see him outside of his cameras. The concerts, of which he went to every one that Lucien performed in, were still always lovely, but they didn't compare to watching Lucien's daily activities. On work days, William was able to see more sides to Lucien, like his more casual outfits that highlighted how he looked flawless in anything, or when Lucien was damp with sweat after a rigorous dance practice. That was his favorite. As Lucien spoke again, William was too caught up in his daydreams to fully process what he was saying when he heard, "One thing before I let you go, Mel. It might be nothing, but you're the only one I can really tell. I've been noticing stuff of mine going missing lately, and I wanted to see if you might have caught that too, or if it's just me." A pause. "Yeah, like that shirt that got eyeliner on it. I swear I left it in the dressing room, but it was gone when I went back for it." William finally registered the words, and he began to sweat. "Oh, no, I don't think it's anything too bad. I don't need you to make a big deal about it, I swear. I just wanted to know if maybe someone was throwing my stuff away, that's all. I'll keep an eye out, but seriously, I'm not worried." Lucien nodded in response to whatever Melanie said back, and he hung up after saying, "Okay, thanks. See you at 8. William's hands felt clammy, and his stomach clenched in anxiety. He had been so careful, only taking things that were thrown away or could be easily replaced. He knew the shirt had been more of a risk, but it had been worth it. He just needed to be more careful about taking things for a while, that was all. Like Lucien had said, it wasn't a big deal. Still, through the rest of the day as he watched his cameras, he had to remind himself to leave things behind. The candy bar wrapper Lucien threw in the hallway trash can would have to stay. A note left for him by his dance instructor that fell from his pocket would be swept away. The most painful item to let slip by was a towel Lucien used on his neck at the end of the day, especially as he tossed it into a basket in the dressing room, a square of fabric sitting there ripe for the taking. It was maddening to think of Lucien's scent on it, and that he wouldn't get to have it for himself. The only thing that kept his sanity in check was the promise of seeing him that night. The hours ticked by, and then Lucien got into Melanie's company car, the two of them driving to Lucien's apartment. William called a taxi and tipped them generously as he asked the driver to step on it. When he got out, he slid to the side of a building across the street, craning his neck to watch just as Lucien bid Melanie goodbye and exited the vehicle. He pulled his key card out to unlock the glass doors, and William watched him walk deeper into the hallway, get on the elevator, and disappear into it. With that, Lucien was gone for the night, and William was satisfied.